So apparently Japan needs black men, more specifically the Japanese women. So why did the Japanese need black men, you ask? Well, apparently black men seems to be the preferred type for them to want to repopulate Japan. So apparently the amount of Japanese people being born per year has reduced. So therefore, why don't we just holler at black men? The first time I heard this was like, why black men? What happened to the white dudes, the Latinos, the Middle Eastern? You know what? Forget all those groups. What happened to just Japanese men in general? Well, if you're asking me, I don't know if this should be seen as a compliment for black men or it should be seen as an insult for Japanese men. Now, I don't know if this is true, but there's a fear that some parts of Japan might be racist towards black people.
日本はアフリカの皆さんと共に笑い、共に泣き、共に汗をかきながらアフリカが直面する課題の解決に一つ一つ取り組んでまいります。
Hello guys, how are you doing today? Welcome back to Training Pulse Worldwide. My name is Amy. If you're new here, you're very welcome. And kindly don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notification so you don't miss out on training topics here at Training Pulse Worldwide. I appreciate you guys for tuning in and let's get into today's topic. So first of all, or rather recently, news has broke out of Japan that has people online talking non-stop, and a Japanese leader openly said that the country is facing a serious population crisis and they're actually looking at immigration, specifically calling for more black people to go and live in Japan. Now, this announcement has sparked a huge conversation online, and some people are saying it's just about boosting the workforce, and others believe it's about culture. And then there are people who are suggesting that Japan might actually want black men in particular for another reason. And the internet has been lit up with takes, debates, and reactions, and we're about to get into all that. But before you dive into the clips and discussions, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my uploads on trending stories just like this. Alright guys, let's get into it.
Breaking news, Japan is designating 4 cities to be the home of Africans from 4 countries. And those countries are Nigeria, Tanzania, Ghana, and Mozambique. Now, Japan has been notorious for keeping out foreigners, and Japan is facing a massive crisis. It's facing a massive crisis of lack of population growth. So hospitals and schools have been closing in Japan for the last so many years. The biggest crisis they have right now is that they have a very large aging population, and now they are realizing that they have to open the doors for Africans, but they don't want the Africans to be mixing with the Japanese people, so they have created and assigned 4 cities that will become the hometowns for Africans. It makes me laugh because, like, what is it about Africans that, you know what? Yeah, we Africans should just refuse to be treated this way. That they don't want the actual Africans to mix with normal Japanese people, so they have to assign locations where Africans will stay, will be confined. And because I don't think people realize just how right-wing Japan is.
The Japanese government wants to bring African immigrants in Japan to help them populate their nation. Why? Because Japan is having a decline in their population. The vast majority of people in Japan are old. They don't have young people. They need some black Africans to go over there and their population. After carefully reviewing this offer from the Japanese government, I am pleased to let you know that we are coming to Japan. But we have a few demands. Number 1, are we allowed to become samurais? Can we become black samurais? Number 2, are we gonna get a black Pikachu? Number 3, are we gonna get more representation in anime? For example, okay, One Piece will be a great place to start. And number 4, are we gonna get some land? Because as soon as I arrive, I'm gonna act like the lady in Pakistan. I'm not leaving unless you're giving me land and 2,000 or more. But we promise we will give you a whole lot of black Japanese.
Oh my God. Japan, I've been asking, what is Japan going to do with their resource crisis? What they're going to do? Because I've been saying Japan is a dying economy. They're in a recession. They are going broke. What are they planning to do? Because eventually China's going to buy them out. I don't know. All jokes aside, but let's get into it. So Japan basically announced this big deal they did with some African countries. Before I tell you the details of the deal, what is said to say, I believe, is that Japan is going to get a lot of resources from Africa. And we already know Africa is literally it's literally the godmother of resources. So apparently they're getting a lot of resources from Africa and all this type of stuff, as well as Japan is claiming that they're going to help offset the debt in China for them. Because apparently these African countries have a lot of debt in China. Again, I don't know how Japan is offsetting everyone's debt. They have so much debt in the United States. I don't know how they're doing this, but apparently that is what Japan is doing. And as exchange, this is what Japan agreed to. I know Japan basically said they're not welcoming 300,000 immigrants, and that is not true. All this kind of stuff. Because if you guys didn't know, this story leaked, and let's say a lot of racism came out in Japan. Let me say that. Oh my God. I've never seen so many black this and these monkey. I've never seen so many names called. So let's say Japan's people were not happy with that 300,000 of African immigrants. So Japan came out and said these are false allegations. These are absolutely not true. But I'm going to say this, read the details of it. I really think that Japan's government is basically saying immigrants equals refugees. And obviously that is not true. Okay. So I will say this, if that is what they're making their definitions on, then yes, Japan's government is telling the truth. They're not going to be introducing 300 African refugees into the country. That is 100% not true. Very false. However, the 300,000 African immigrants is a real thing. And I don't understand why they're sitting here playing with words. You know what people means, and you know what your people mean when they say this. So here's the details of what Japan basically agreed to. So Japan planned to actually train 300,000 African citizens. And this is part of a job training program, not an immigration program. That is what Japan is claiming. That's why they're saying they're not welcoming 300,000 immigrants, I guess, because this program is considered job assistant training. I have no idea. Look, this is what they're saying, okay? 300,000 African people will be trained in different sectors for the next 3 years. And this is part of like this job training program. Now, this is where I think the right-wing Japan First movement is going to basically harp on, okay? Not the training, but this huge information that Japan's government is glossing over, and they're playing with words, okay? So Japan basically said that they are going to have an African hometown program. Now, what this African hometown is, apparently it's going to be spread off of 4 different cities of Japan. And these 4 different cities are very much underdeveloped. When they say underdeveloped, they mean like these parts of Japan has hardly anyone living there, meaning that it's very low numbers of people, if any, actually still lives in these areas. And they're going to use those areas as African hometowns where they're going to place these African immigrants. But they made it very clear that this is not a settling immigrant program. This is more of a cultural exchange program. Mind you, these are the same people that's going to get trained by different sectors of Japan. And then they're going to come over into this African hometown initiative. And they're going to be placed there, aka immigrant settling. But Japan is saying this is not an immigration settling program. This is more so of a cultural exchange. Look, this is what they're saying. But Japan's government came out and made it very clear they do not see any plans of making special visas for these African countries, because the biggest worry is that they're going to have a special visa for them to just enter the country even more, free, and be able to basically work and live and be treated like a citizen under this visa. I guess a special visa. Japan basically made it clear that they have no plans of making a special visa for these African people that's going to be coming through this program, claiming that it's not going to be a special visa for them. So I don't know where they're going to be under, maybe long-term residence then.
Okay, so you've seen what's being said online, but here's the real question. What exactly does Japan want black people to go and do? So guys, let's break it down. So first of all, Japan has one of the fastest aging population in the world, and their birth rate is at record low, and every year the numbers of young people shrink while the numbers of elderly grow. And that means they need workers, first of all, badly, and they also need people who can fill jobs, pay taxes, and support the economy as well. Now, here's where the conversation takes a turn. A lot of people online are pointing out that Japan's call for black men, especially, isn't just about economics. Some are saying Japanese women have been openly fascinated with black men. In fact, there have been viral conversations about Japanese women specifically wanting to have children with black men, seeing them as strong and attractive and also capable of giving them healthy babies. And on top of that, there's even talk about a so-called only black town in Japan that's being built up as a safe space for black immigrants to live, work, and also build families. And whether that's fully true or not, it just shows how far the conversation is going online. But let's also keep it real, because Japan hasn't always been the most welcoming place for foreigners, especially for black people. So it raises a lot of questions. Do they really want black people for who we are? Or do they only want us black people because they see us as a solution to their crisis? This whole thing makes me think, honestly, if you're inviting people in, it shouldn't just be because you want their labor or you want their DNA. It should be because you're ready to truly include them, respect them, and also give them equal opportunities in society. Otherwise, it starts to look like exploitation. But anyway, that is just my opinion, guys. I want to hear from you. Let's have this discussion in the comments, because I know everyone has a different perspective and it's okay to air them out. So guys, I'll be reading the comments because I truly want to hear what you have to say about this whole conversation. Thank you so much for sticking around. My name is Amy, and before you go, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Training Pulse Worldwide for more stories just like this. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay blessed.